Craig, I ask you one question. What do you know? What do you know about Ryan Leaf? What do you know about Ryan Leaf? Be as bluntly honest as you possibly can be, because one thing I've learned about him since he said he would come on with us is that this guy is as honest as it gets when it comes to his own life. So what do you think and know about Ryan Leaf before we change your opinion of him?
To be honest with you, I was when you told me that we had the opportunity to get Ryan Leaf on, I known of Ryan Leaf just like most people out there. He was second overall draft pick. He was the second overall draft pick in 1998, behind Hall of Famer Peyton Manning. And, there's two careers that went in completely different directions, and two young men back in 98 that had a tremendous amount of upside. And, obviously when you look at the two careers, one derailed very quickly, and you just wonder why, because he had all of the attributes physically to be something special. But it'll be interesting to talk to him, to ask him, how things derailed, how much pressure is on a young man at that age, and all the things that you have to overcome. So be interested to talk to him.
I don't know if I'm at an advantage or disadvantage, because I've learned so much about him. Okay. Like, I've learned there is so much to the story. It's not. I mean, to kind of give, our listeners here and viewers kind of a quick kind of synopsis of it, because I don't want him wasting his time telling us his story. I want to talk about like life after the story. Like, he was drafted second overall, won his first 2 games in his career, had a staph infection that nobody knew about, had the flu all week, decided to play the third game, shouldn't have played, terrible result, ends up getting, wait till you hear the story about why he lit up the reporter. Okay. Because I learned this today and I had no idea. I'm like, oh, he was just, a dickhead athlete who attacked a reporter for writing something shitty, which he did something that made me laugh in episode 3 of his podcast Bust. And I suggest that you check it out, because it's just honest. Like, it's so honest, it's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, but it's real, and I appreciate it, because I feel like I'm listening in some sort of way, not completely, but in some way I feel like I'm listening to myself speak, minus all the talent. You know what I mean? But enough talent to be drafted high enough where, you can say there's potential there and whatever. But oh my God, I don't know. It's just, I can almost relate too much to his antics and his philosophy and his mindset. What brought us to that point of, I don't know if it's narcissism or he uses narcissism or whatever the case may be, but what it might be different paths, what got us to that point. But I mean, my God, like, this guy made $30 odd million in his first contract, signed for the same deal as Peyton Manning, could have gone number 1, but didn't want to go number 1. Really wanted to go to San Diego. He says it like I think it's episode 2 or 3 of his podcast.
Yeah.
He says, I wanted the girls and I wanted the money out in the sun. And he goes, I wanted the beach. He's like, I didn't want to go to gloomy Indianapolis. You know what I mean? Like, he's just so honest. He's like, I didn't want to go to Indianapolis. He goes, I probably could have gone number 1. He goes, Irsay loved me. The owner loved me, but I didn't want to go number 1. He's like,
Well, that's the thing with so much talent. It's the size. He had the arm. He had everything. It's just wondering how things can derail so quickly.
Yeah, so I was saying, so he had that bad 3rd week, then he had a bad 4th week, and then I think things started to melt down from there. So
the pressure, is that pressure?
Unnecessary pressure, because it's funny. I went back and watched some of the 98 draft, and I was, listening to, he could go all the way, what's the guy's name? football guy. I'm just drawing a blank on him, but everyone knows his name, the legend there. Matt is not Madden, but ESPN guy. So anyway, so he's just saying like, who's the pressure on? Is it Manning, who's got Marvin Harrison and Marshall Faulk in the backfield, who he's got all the weapons, or is the pressure on Ryan Leaf, who doesn't really have that, shouldn't really start week 1, should start about a month into the season, right? But he goes there, lights it up in training camp. So they start him, and he wins his first 2 games, right? So it's like, and Manning lost his first 2 games. So, it all starts to perpetuate in his head, and he just, gets, it just takes off. And so the story is he retires from football. He quit, it's same language I use. I'm like, I didn't retire from hockey. I quit hockey. And he, you said you remember hearing the story about when he started using pills.
Yeah. And, something that I'm going to ask him about, I'm not going to, talk about it now on here, because I want to hear from his perspective. I want to hear what he has to say about, the first time that, there was a major change in his life because of him taking, painkillers and where that took him.
Basically to jail.
It didn't take him in a good direction.
Took him to jail. Hey, the story's out there. It's no secret. It took him to jail, and there's just so much in there. And his rebound back to life and just his resurrection has been incredible. And he's open about his story. He's open about his issues, and I cannot wait to talk to him. So let's get inside with Ryan Leaf. And what an absolute pleasure and honor it is to have you on here, Ryan. As I was telling you just a few minutes ago, I'm almost 10 years sober, and we've had a couple guests on here that have in their family history of had issues with sobriety, and another guy who's been to rehab, and we got some great responses on those guests. And I think what people love to hear is that athletes are just human beings, normal people like everybody else, and suffer from shit like everybody else. So I saw your tweet about being 7 years sober, and I appreciated you getting back to me and being willing to come on. So congratulations on your sobriety as well.
That was 7 years out of prison.
7 years out of prison.
Yeah.
So how long have you been sober?
Just over 9.5 years. So it'll be 10 years, April 1st.
Yeah. So I'm 10 years.
You guys are pretty close.
I'm 10 years, May 15th. May 15th is my 10.
You'll be 10?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be 10 before you then. April Fool's Day.
So,
May 15th, by the way, is my birthday. My real birthday.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. Like, I don't want to be cheesy, but I kind of view May 15th as like a rebirth day for me. You know what I mean? Like a complete moment of my life that completely changed the direction of who I was in my thought process. You know what I mean? And where I wanted to go, who I wanted to be, how I wanted to treat people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, either you make a 180-degree lifestyle change or nothing changes. So I can attest to that completely and understand that completely, because like, no matter where I went or where I was or who was around me or who was saying anything, I was always the problem. So I had to change my lifestyle completely. Otherwise, nothing was going to change.
I'll say this. I've been listening to your podcast, Bust, and I love it. I just finished episode 3. And it's funny because there's so many things that we obviously want to talk to you about. You've got such a storied career. But that incident with the reporter, and I'm like,
yep.
And then all of a sudden I listened to that episode today knowing you're coming on, and I'm like, oh shit, he talked about it. He talked about the whole thing today because I wanted to know, about the apology letter and everything. And it turns out your dad wrote it. But in that episode, I learned something else. I learned 2 things. One, the old Ryan Leaf and the old Andrew Peters would have been unbelievable friends. Okay.
Yeah.
And number two, I learned that the story about you seeing the reporter on the sidelines, and you're like, I saw this reporter on the sideline. He had just written a story that wasn't really a, kind about, I can't remember the exact word you used, but it wasn't really a positive story about you. And you're like, so I just fucking launched it and hit him right in the head, right, right on the sideline. I rewound that twice. I was just dying laughing.
Well, I thought I was more important than everybody else, especially since I could play this game, and these peons who were covering it in the media, what do they know? How do they, and they have to be respectful to us. We're the stars here, and all of those things. So yeah, pretty led by my ego through all of that, and my lack of self-esteem. And if I wasn't shown in the light that I felt like I should be, then I was going to let you have it. And the good thing about the podcast for me is and it's tough with people I know who know me now, because they say that doesn't really sound like me too much in the early episodes. And I said, I'm telling the story from the perspective of me during that time. And so, for the first few episodes, I may sound like a real asshole again, because that's how I was at the time. And so the way I'm talking and expressing, of course, I, revert back to who I am now and the way I think. I think there was a point in the episode where I say something just outrageous about what I said at the time. And then I just kind of stop and I go, what an asshole.
Yes. I know exactly, because I heard it today. I heard exactly what we don't need to repeat it. If you want to hear it, go listen to the pod. There's a good little tease for it, but it's amazing. Like how is it? I mean, I watched your whole thing that you did at Washington State University. It was, people toss around the word powerful all the time. Like, oh, it's so powerful. That was incredibly powerful. My question is, how therapeutic are you finding the podcast? Because I know you do therapy. Is it another avenue of therapy for you? I'll let you answer that one, because the other question I have here, but are you finding it therapeutic for you? And how hard is it to be so honest? Like it's uncomfortable how honest you are.
It's uncomfortable for some people sometimes. Like, I remember when I first got out of prison and I was like playing golf with some new friends, and like, I'm so open with it. I'm like, when I got out of prison, and all of a sudden somebody who had been playing with me for a few years just kind of goes, dude was in prison.
Yeah.
Why was he in prison?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, I'm so, you hear me talk about it in the first couple episodes, just about how I was brought up, kind of shamed, wasn't really transparent or vulnerable with anybody or anything. So like, I've gotten to a place where like, I don't care what people know. This is me. I'm very comfortable with who I am and who I see in the mirror every day. I like who I am, and who I was in the past is exactly that, a past version of myself where everybody else has gone through something similar, regardless of who you are. My story isn't unique. It may have some unique markers simply because of, what you see behind me on the wall and stuff like that. But, other than that, it's the story of recovery and mental health and everything that everybody goes through every single day. And it's,
are you proud of what you see on the wall behind you?
Yeah, extremely proud. I mean, I'm the only Montanan who's ever been drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. So, I mean, there weren't any trailblazers. You're making an omelet. You got to break some eggs. That's what I say. And, I broke some eggs. That's just the way it went. It got to me where I needed to get to. But once I got there, I was incapable of or did not have the life skills to be a success at the highest level. Doesn't mean.
Was it maturity? What you talked about, your ego and, dealing with, whether it's reporters, you felt above them. And when you came to the NFL and was drafted high, and how you were treated all those years previous leading up to your draft, how did you get to that point?
Everything came, not that I didn't work my tail off, but then once I did, like, things came easy to me.
Yeah.
Right. I was head and shoulders more talented than everybody else. And I just assumed it was going to be that way in the NFL. Why not? It had always been that way in high school and college. I just achieved everything I'd ever wanted to achieve. Why would this be different? Well, the difference is, you've gotten to another level, right? It's the 1% of the 1%. That's, and if you're not functioning on a high level, especially between your ears when you're dealing with mental illness, you're not going to be successful. There's a reason why there's only 350 Hall of Famers ever in the NFL, right? So it's extremely difficult. And if you are not prepared, if you are not capable of dealing with failure in a positive and healthy way, you're going to be found out in a hurry, and you're going to be sent off on your ass. And that's exactly what happened to me. Because of the expectations that were so high, because of who I was drafted alongside, that makes for this a different kind of story. And the way I crashed and burned, that's the reason why it continues to be, my name continues to be brought up in these worlds every single year, every single April.
Has it gotten easier? Like, I got to tell you, after getting to know you through all these interviews, I don't know if you want the sympathy or empathy, but I feel bad for you.
Why is that?
I don't feel like you deserve
I chose to play a professional sport. I chose to be in the public eye. That's just how it is. Sure. Could people have treated me better? Sure. Could I have treated people better? Of course. So, I mean,
wanting the fame and fortune.
I didn't want the fame at all. I didn't want the fame. I just wanted to play football and be liked. That's all I ever wanted. I just did it in an incredibly poor way. I took the Dennis Rodman approach.
Like, when did you start feeling the pressure? When was it the toughest? When did it start to mount on you the most? And then
pressure was never the issue. That pressure was always been the case. It wasn't about the pressure. It was about how I dealt with things. That was the problem. Because life isn't fair. It's about how you deal with it that matters. And I dealt with it so poorly for so long. You always have a choice to deal with any situation in a positive and healthy way, or a negative and toxic one. And the negative and toxic one is much easier, right? It's harder to take the high road and be about love and understanding and empathy. That's the hard route. The easy route is to be angry and judgmental and fearful and all of those things. And that's how I lived my whole life. I was shamed by my family and my hometown and the media when things turned and flipped, when I became like I was the most loved person in the city of San Diego to the most hated in about a couple of weeks. How does that happen? How does that even transpire? It's extremely traumatic. And it reminded me of exactly where I grew up. Like, there was this happy medium in college where, I'd found where I belonged. I felt like, in the state of Washington, at Washington State University, an underdog that had overcome and accomplished something that team hadn't done in 67 years. And I was theirs. Like, they had adopted me. And it's the first time I'd ever felt that way. In San Diego, early on in my career, felt like that again. Like, the city was so excited to have me be their quarterback, and I just completely let them down by the way I behaved, the way how I performed, and how I treated people. Just flat out failed them.
You said in your speech at Washington State, you said John Elway came to visit you for a weekend. What were those conversations like?
He reached out.
Oh, he reached out. Okay.
On the phone. Yeah, he reached out on the phone.
So what's he saying to you, and what's he trying to get through to you at the time? And what was there anything that he could have said that could have helped you?
No, there's nothing anybody could have said, because plenty of people tried, right? And I wasn't having it, right? It wasn't my issue. It was your issue, right? I was the victim in all of this. So I surrounded myself with people who enabled that behavior. So if you were going to show me the mirror and show me how I was behaving and what I needed to do to correct it, it was a big fuck you to you. There's nothing or anybody that could have changed how I was going to behave. I had to be humbled. That's the bottom line. I had to wake up on a prison cell floor.
So let me get this straight. So are you sitting there going like, fucking John Elway, what can John Elway teach me?
Yeah, I simply thought I was going to be greater than him. I was going to win. I wasn't going to go lose Super Bowls, right? I was going to win them. I'd always done it, So, and it's not me, it's them, It's their fault. It's not mine. Like I said, I'm the victim here.
How many athletes do you think are like this though? Like that
ton are like
probably
this
hide
they
it.
don't have the life skills because they've been placed on a pedestal their whole life. The difference is they're extremely more talented than I am. And if you can go out and play, you can be the biggest son of a bitch you want to be. That's just the reality of it all. But if you can't back it up, then you're going to be found out pretty quick. The criticism is going to come pretty fast and hard if you can't do it on the football field.
I read an article about, when you got addicted to painkillers, and it was at a Mike Tyson fight. I'm not 100% sure the year. Can you tell me a little bit about, that situation and how that happened?
Yeah, I had retired from the NFL or quit. Thought I'd be able to kind of disappear, but like I told you earlier, like my name just doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And so I was in Vegas for a fight. I thought it was a Tyson fight. I've been corrected by others that Tyson hadn't fought at that time. So it must've been a De La Hoya. Well, it was a fight in Vegas, period. Might have been an MMA fight too. Who knows? But anyway, they announced the celebrities that are sitting ringside. And when it's a trade-off, when you get the free tickets, they use it as an opportunity to announce the celebrities that are ringside and things like that. And I was always fearful of that because I knew what the reaction normally was. And for whatever reason that night, when the MC announced my name, like the whole MGM Grand just booed and hissed, and my addict brain, because I was a drug addict long before I ever took a drug, heard that not only are you a terrible football player, but you are an awful human being.
What did you do? What did you do when they were doing that?
I can't remember.
Because apparently
I probably hid my head or tried to put my eyes down to the
fake
floor.
smile or something.
Like I can't imagine being in that situation. They announced Michael Jordan. They announced Tiger Woods. They announced all these names and the crowd was going nuts. And then you had said that they had announced your name and people started to boo.
Yeah.
And people start, to hiss and I can't even imagine. Like, you're a professional athlete. You were drafted extremely high.
I'm about to go to my first Chargers game this weekend for their Legends weekend. I anticipate to be booed extremely loudly.
Really?
Even after everything,
People don't know my story. I think I take it for granted that people just know my story and know what I've been through. I've had people recently message me and say, I cannot believe I missed that you went to prison, and I have to remember, like, dude, you are not the center of other people's stories, right? You are the center of yours. So you just can't assume that people have any idea of what you've been through, what you're going through, what's ahead for you. So,
well, you certainly know, and you probably have learned this through the tough travels that that you know who your true friends are, right? And
yeah, I've definitely found those.
And you know that the people that don't hear the positive things that you're doing and the resurrection of Ryan Leaf that don't hear about them, that's because they live on the negative. They live only in the fact that you were in jail, or that I was an alcoholic, or that I was, like they'll only live in those because they don't want to ever release you from that prison.
And
does that make sense?
And what those people think of you is none of your business either. So it doesn't matter, right? At all.
I hope you're very pleasantly surprised. So let me ask you, why would you, if you're expecting that, why, I don't say hide, I say, but why put yourself in that situation?
I want to be part of something. I want to be proud of something. And I didn't have a team. Like, everybody retires. Guys play in the league for a year, 2 years, whatever team that is, you go back to for these kind of events.
Yeah.
Look at Craig. He has 4 teams. He doesn't have a home.
I have 4 teams too. And so this was the team that drafted me. And it's in my hometown now, right? It's in Los Angeles. And I do a lot to give back to the Chargers and to the NFL community, especially my brothers who are struggling. And so I want that. And you got to take baby steps, right? This may be the first step. This is the first time I'm going back to do it. My son is going to be with me. He's got a Justin Herbert jersey that he's going to wear. He's excited about it. These are the types of things, like, as a dad. And
he's wearing a Herbert jersey.
Of course he is. Justin Herbert is the
What?
man.
Yeah. No, he should be walking out in a Ryan Leaf jersey. Are you nuts?
We don't want him to get beat up.
Take a little look here. We got the Super Bowl champs on their way.
All right, we're in Buffalo.
All right,
we
lost that.
I don't think he really cares about the Bills right now. Really.
Yeah, I don't think he cares.
Well, I do. I love Josh Allen. I think he's exceptional. I think they get thumped tonight by the Patriots, but that's just me.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the Patriots are playing better than anybody in the NFL right now. So,
wow. Okay, I'm not saying I disagree or agree, because I don't know. I mean,
my heart just skipped there a beat. I don't even.
Well, they play each other twice here in the next couple of weeks, so it's going to determine the AFC East this year. These 2 games.
Did you play Monday Night Football game?
Yeah, I played when I was with the Cowboys. I played in a Monday Night Football game.
Is the pressure more real than a normal Sunday game, or is it?
No. It's neat. I played on a Thanksgiving day too, where you're the only show in town. That's pretty cool. Like, everybody who's an NFL fan, regardless, when there's only one game on for people to watch, they're watching you. Yeah. And
how'd you do that game?
I did that. I was with the Dallas Cowboys in that star, which is pretty cool.
Oh, I don't want to dwell. I want to go back to you going back to San Diego, because I think it's unbelievable.
It's LA.
Oh yeah, sorry. That's right. I mean, I did know that, but so you're going to LA.
San Diego probably would be tougher, I think. I don't know if I could do that.
So I guess my question is this. So what have you done to prepare yourself? Because that was a trigger the last time.
Do you need to prepare yourself?
Okay,
maybe he's at that. Maybe he's found a good place right now.
I'm looking forward to this on Sunday. I got to go to SoFi a few weeks ago to work. I called the Rams Sunday night matchup against the Tennessee Titans as part of my new broadcasting career. So I've been to the stadium. I know what it looks like. It's a wonderful venue. The Chargers are playing incredibly well. I've had good conversations, and the relationship with the ownership there, the Spanoses, has grown over the last few years, which is wonderful, because ultimately, when it's all said and done, we're all flawed human beings trying to be better every single day. And so that's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm going to tell you something. You look 10 years younger than your mugshot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't you find I find everyone's like, now I'm 41. Okay. I don't think I look 40. I mean, right now I might, but I mean, I look all right some days. And someone's like, I can't believe you're 41. You look like you're 35, 30, 34, 36. I honestly believe that quitting the booze almost 10 years ago and off every prescription pill that you could imagine. Like I barely even take an Advil if I have a joint pain these days.
Yep.
Probably 6 years. So like, I think it helps us look better.
And the food you put in your body, that's been a big difference for me too. It's the kind of food I've been
looks
putting
like
in my
he's
body.
60. That's why Craig looks like he's 60. Craig's only 20. Craig's only 29, eh?
Well, I don't know if you guys know Nate Thompson at all.
Hockey player.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Nate and I have become pretty close. And that dude, it feels like that dude is going out. It's like he's Benjamin Button stuff. He's played. You talked about playing for 4 teams. I think Nate's played for like 30 teams. I don't know how many teams are in the NHL either. But
and hard minutes that he played. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and he's still going. He's still going. He plays for the Flyers this year, and he looks like he's getting younger. So I mean,
I had a shoulder-to-shoulder collision with him. Okay, I'm 6'4", 235, 240. He's what, 6 feet, 210?
Yeah.
210? I swear to God, he like so many times, but I had him lined up and I went and just laid into him and he saw me at the last second and it was a chest to chest, like almost like, and just no one went down. But I was just kind of like, oh, like, you know, when you just get hit, like, I mean, you know, you've probably been cranked too. Like we all have, like you get friggin' cranked. I mean, so do you like hockey?
I do. I never, for whatever reason, ever got on ice skates. I love going to it. I love watching it. I have a ton of respect for the athlete, the NHL player, the hockey player, period, the hand-eye coordination to be able to do that on razor blades. And then I spent, my early recovery was in Vancouver, British Columbia. And so I became a Canucks fan while I was there.
And a Nickelback fan, I bet.
I ran into the Nickelback crew at the Roxy a bunch.
Yeah, you did.
Back in the day there.
Oh, the Roxy. Let's go.
Yeah. I grew up a Penguins fan. Mario Lemieux was my guy. So yeah, I mean, followed hockey, loved to go, when Nate was with the Anaheim Ducks, spent some time down there in Anaheim watching him play and those guys play. So I enjoy it. I'll sit and watch it. I love going into it live, especially.
I have a quote. I loved your quotes, but you said the best advice you'd give yourself. It's going to be a hell of a ride and it's going to hurt like hell, but you're going to be okay.
Yep.
Do you ever wish things were different? Do you ever wish you played basketball instead of football?
Yeah, I always wished I would have played basketball. I wasn't talented enough to do it as a profession.
Craig, you probably didn't know this. He played in college. His first year in college, he played college basketball. Is that true?
Yeah, and I loved it. And I still miss it. I miss it a hell of a lot more than I do miss football. But it's a slippery slope to regret any of this. If I would have, had things turned out differently, I wouldn't have gone through the things I had to go through to make me the man I am right now. And that's more important than, success or money or anything. The life skills developed because of the pain sometimes is exactly what everybody needs. And it was exactly what I needed. And it's going to allow me to be grateful and blessed for the rest of my life because of it.
I loved what you said. I got Ryan. I mean, I don't take notes. Like I interviewed Wayne.
What's funny about this, Petey, is we've worked together for almost 6 years now. We were on a radio TV show for 5 years, and we've been doing this podcast for a number of months now. I'm going to tell you this. I am the notes guy. I need to be prepared. That's just the way I am. Petey he loves to be off the cuff. This is the first time. And it's actually uncomfortable, Petey, watching you right now.
Because
look at your notes. This is embarrassing.
I feel like I'm being so not me right now. But you know, you know why?
You're starstruck right now. It's so ridiculous. I can see it in the way you're asking your question. It's a joke.
I'm like that too. When I meet golfers, I am so starstruck when I meet golfers. It's like if I could run into Michael Jordan and be like, yeah, that's cool. It's Michael Jordan. That's cool. But if I ran into Tiger Woods again, or if I ran into Jordan Spieth or something like that, I would just be like the little kid with them. I'd have notes or questions.
So do you play?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I love it. It's my favorite thing to do.
So you're obviously what, a scratch +2. What are you?
I think I'm at around a 2 right now. So,
okay.
Good enough.
Yeah, that's some good golf.
You have to excuse
I'll take
Craig.
a couple strokes.
Craig can be a bit of a dick sometimes. The reason why I did the notes, Craig, was because I felt that Ryan deserved the respect and time and the preparation.
So you haven't respected anybody else that we?
No, I had Gretzky on. I had Gretzky on. I went off the cuff with him too. I'm like, fuck, I watched my whole career.
Well, that's the point. Like when you play with them, even though they may be the greatest of all time, you're still kind of like, up here. Yeah. But like I could never do what any professional golfer does, even though I, imitate it somewhat when I go on the weekends or like that. It will never look the same, sound the same, ball flight, all of it. Not at all.
You actually consider golf a sport or like more of a hobby?
I know.
I'm just messing with you. I love to throw that out there. I'm not a golfer.
It's definitely a sport. It's my hobby now. I don't take it too seriously. I have a lot of fun with my boys and stuff. And
so do you ever, how old are your boys?
I have one son. He's 4.
Okay.
And
will he play football?
No, he won't play football.
Why?
What?
Because
what if he wants to play football?
Well, we're going to give him the choice and all the information when he's 16. He can't wear a helmet till he's 16. That's the deal. That's the deal his mom and I made. Who knows what football will look like then? It may not even exist, 12 years from now in the direction it's going in terms of safety. And if my peers continue to kill themselves because they have brain trauma that's so bad that they think that's the easier way out than to get help, then it better be gone. Right. And I have a ton of friends. In fact, I have a few doctor friends who are neurologists and neurosurgeons, and the type of brain trauma they're dealing with now and in contact sports. Why would I ever want my son to have to?
I don't
deal
think
with
my
that.
parents would put me in hockey and let me be a fighter in the NHL if they knew what could potentially be staring down the line.
Now, don't get me wrong. What football gave me in terms of leadership qualities, the camaraderie, the fellowship, all those things, they gave me a ton of great skills. But, would I do it again? Hell yeah. Right. I mean, I loved it. I got paid handsomely for it. It was a dream of mine. I just don't think it will be the dream of his, we're going to give him all the info. And if you haven't played or put a helmet on until you're 16, it's doubtful that you will do it. And he's just going to be so darn big. He's going to be 6'9" probably. So
is your wife tall?
Yeah, she's 6'1".
Oh my God.
So we're gonna.
You're working on we're
gonna get a basketball
jump shot.
Yeah.
But you can only dunk 3 times in the first half, and then he has to shoot. Right? Is that what they're gonna do? Isn't that what they had to tell you to do? You can't dunk. You can't dunk more than 3 times in the first quarter. You can't do this because is that right?
Well, they didn't like the fact that I could dunk. It was just a weird time. Not many guys were dunking in the state of Montana. I could jump out of the gym. And I watched the likes of Jalen Rose and Chris Webber and those guys at Michigan. And those were my heroes. Right. And so I saw how they played, and that's how I played, and it wasn't necessarily welcomed in that real conservative kind of blue collar town of Great Falls, Montana.
You touched on it, but the CTE, and we kind of got away from it through humor because that's what, denial maybe looks like.
Yeah.
But CTE, are you scared of it?
Definitely. I think I'm living with it. And luckily for me, my addiction, which led to criminal consequences, has made me address it. And I'm grateful for that, because there's a lot of peers of mine, and probably yours, that have not been held in the microscope when they mess up, and are either no longer with us or haven't, surrendered to that and accepted help yet. So I'm really grateful for it. I do believe I'm living with it. I know it can't be fully diagnosed until you've passed away in a post-mortem autopsy. But I think we know over the years now what the symptoms look like and the things that I've exhibited. And so when I go into situations or when I have mental health episodes, my wife and I, we address it, and we look at it as a CTE symptom. And, we have things in place for that. And we are open-minded to that existing and not in denial that it doesn't, like the NFL or the NHL. We are completely open to what that looks like and what we can do to better ourselves to put us in the best possible position, because it's going to continue to affect us.
In your journey to hell and back, I know you talk about the people that were there for you, but is there anybody that kind of came out of the woodworks that you never thought of, that reached out and offered support as you were coming back?
I've had so many people lift me up. There have been a couple since moving to Los Angeles, really, that have, regardless of situation. Rich Eisen being one of them. He's given me unbelievable opportunities to really kickstart my second career here in the broadcasting side of things. And it didn't matter what I had done. It was who I am and what I can do moving forward. He's been extremely meaningful. The fellowship in my AA groups here in Los Angeles have been my rock, right? They are no holds barred, the best group of men, because they don't hold back. They hold me accountable. They are not placating me or blowing smoke up my ass. They tell me when old Ryan shows up, and though I may not like it, like to hear it, no one does. No one likes to hear constructive criticism, especially when you feel like you've grown and gotten to a place.
I do, when they say I did something good afterward.
Yeah. Yeah. They've been extremely important. My wife, she didn't know me before we met 6 years ago. And so she doesn't know that version of me. How cool is that? Like the best possible version of myself is who she gets to be with, and her support, her guidance, just her loving hand on my shoulder through the whole process of being a new father. I was terrible at relationships. I'm still feel like I'm bad at it, but she's been amazing. There's been so many people I can't even count who have been really incredible part of my life here in the last 7 years.
You bring up your wife, and before, I had a great pickup line for you before, but we had all those issues with the technical side, the hearing each other. And I had a great pickup line when you jumped right on. I was going to say, the most honest man I've never met. Because isn't that how your wife described you, and your brother started to laugh when she said, why Ryan? Because he's the most honest.
At the engagement party, she said, my brother asked her, what ultimately was it about Ryan that made you know? And she said, I was the most honest man she'd ever met. And my brother just fell on the floor laughing, because that's not the definition of me. Right. And I've let her down a bunch since that statement. I know that. But that's life. And she still got my back through this all. And I love her to death for it.
Well, I don't want to take a ton more of your time. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, Dr. Ryan Leaf.
I am a doctor now, by the way. I got a doctorate last year. So yes, if you want to call me doctor from now on, I'll accept it.
Dr. Ryan Leaf. Now you got that for the commencement speech at a university in Missouri. Was it University of Missouri?
No, it was William Woods University in Missouri there. Yeah, I gave the keynote commencement speech and was awarded a doctorate, an honorary doctorate. So my wife won't do it. I keep telling her, you need to call me doctor. She won't.
Absolutely. You got to hold her to that for sure. Last question I have for you. You say second part of your life. Broadcast. Nervous? Scared? How'd that make you feel starting this new chapter?
When I first started, yeah, because I'm like, I had been beat over the head for so long that I was a terrible football player that I'm like, why would anybody listen to me? And one of my early bosses who hired me at SiriusXM looked at me and said, Ryan, you've forgotten more football than other people will ever know. And I mean, it was amazing to hear, and being given the opportunity, right? And then it's just grown and grown and grown. And I really love doing it. I love traveling around the country, calling college football games. We're headed to London this week. And I'm going to be the NFL analyst in London for Sky Sports for the final 5 weeks of the season. How cool is that? We get to spend Christmas and New Year's as a family in the UK. I've never been able to do that before. So, I mean, the opportunities, when people tell you like the promises will materialize if you continue to work for them, it's not a lie, people. It is not a lie. I'm a perfect example of that.
Good for you, man. I mean, it's an unbelievable story. Your story is the story for everybody to hear, because it's the most real story that I know. And what I wrote to you the other day in that direct message was, I said, it's an honor. It'll be an honor and a privilege to be able to speak to you today. And
well, I think
I can't thank you enough.
I think when the realization sets in, like you are like everybody else. You're not any more important or less important, that you're a flawed human being like everybody else that's just trying to be better every single day. Like when you fully and honestly accept that, like that's the shift, that's the change. And it took me a lot longer than it probably should have. But I'm grateful that it did. And I get to experience life now like this. I know I'm incredibly grateful for it. That's for sure.
I swear this is the last question. This is for our Buffalo audience. Did you ever get to play in Buffalo against Buffalo? Or did you ever get to hang out in Buffalo at all? And were you almost ever a Bill?
I was never almost a Bill. My first game ever was against the Buffalo Bills, but it was in San Diego. It was my first win against, I think Doug Flutie ended up coming in. Before that was it
Rob Johnson?
Rob Johnson was the quarterback that day.
Wow, good one, Petey.
What a fun game. We kicked a field goal at the buzzer to beat the Bills that day. And then I think we went back again when I was on injured reserve. I can't remember who we were with. I can't remember if I was with the Cowboys or if I was with the Chargers or not. But I do believe we went to Orchard Park, and it was cold. I know that. But I love the Bills right now. I love Coach McDermott. I love what they're doing offensively. Josh Allen is a stud.
You said they're not beating New England.
I just don't. I mean, New England looks like they did with Tom Brady, and we all know how that turned out for the Bills and Buffalo fans over the years through that process. So
how is that possible?
How's that possible? I mean, people are going to
Bill
lose
Belichick.
their marbles.
Bill Belichick. That's how it's possible.
That's it?
It's the greatest coach of all time. Yeah.
Wow. All right. I mean, it's just that simple. Ryan Leaf, ladies and gentlemen, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure talking with both of you.
Thank you. That's a wrap on another episode of After the Whistle. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, After the Whistle, and at Craig Rivet 52, at the Instigator 76. And you can find us, as you already know, on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and anywhere else where you can get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to spread the word.